September 19th, 2020 board meeting minutes. B, September 19th, 2024 cow meeting minutes. And C, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village.
I have a question about the regular board meeting minutes, just a detail. For the discussion and possible action on R 1924 amending industrial park covenants in the minutes. It's a little unclear for the first portion. It says the village's responsibilities in enforcing phase 2 and voting and enforcing phase 1. I don't understand. Okay, let's
Read that again.
well, the whole thing is, Administrator Treadwell said that this resolution was provided by our attorney and sent out by certified mail to the business owners in the industrial park. The village's responsibilities in enforcing phase 2 and voting and enforcing phase 1.
Yeah.
Remove, it should just say removing the village's
Yeah, just say
responsibility.
removing. I can correct that.
Thanks.
Anything else? Otherwise, we need a motion to accept.
Just one clarification on the vouchers, signing them tonight. The Delta Dental is listed at $1,254.73. It's actually $1,362.15 due to an employee addition. Just that the voucher was different than the list, so I just want to make change. That was it.
Okay, then we need a motion to accept with the changes.
I'll make a motion to accept the changes with what's noted about Delta Dental, and I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
With the change. With the change, Grace, please.
Oh, with that change as well. I'm sorry. Yes.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 6, pre-registered citizens to be heard.
There are none.
Okay, 7, committee reports. There are none. 8, unfinished business from previous meeting. There is none. 9, new business. 8, discussion and possible action on lights in downtown.
I wasn't sure if you wanted me to have it go up there. I don't have a HDMI or
The plug,
anything.
yeah, the HDMI is plugged into the system there.
One of these over here. Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, so let's see here. So, for those of you that remember me from last time, and those of you who might be new tonight, my name is Jill, and I'm with McMahon Associates. And the last time I was here, we went through a couple different light fixtures for Main Street, and utilizing some of those comments that were made after that meeting, did some reiterations and hopefully get a little bit more information to help make a decision with this. So for this one of the items that was very important, or several of the items, you're really concerned about people climbing the pole. So you wanted to make sure that the base was those arms. And, that project was slightly different, and I do have that one as an example here. It was a slightly tall, it was actually a much taller pole at about 31 feet versus, right now we're at about 18 feet, but of course that can all change. And I did some research on, you know, looking at the heights of your buildings in that downtown area and, you know, the width of the building, and honestly, you could go up to, you know, 22 to 24 feet for your poles and still look, to scale. So we could always, bring the pole up if we wanted to. But this one, this Chadbourne, pole that they use, or not pole, but the arm, the shortest is a 4 foot, so I was kind of thinking at 18 feet with a 4 foot arm on the pedestrian side might look a little out of scale. I think the reason why it looked good in that Chadbourne project is because it was a much taller pole. So my gut feeling on that one is it just wouldn't look right, at least on the pedestrian side, but I still showed it here anyway, just so you could see. And I had them use a 6 foot pole or a 6 foot arm. And I remember last time you guys said you weren't so sure about a 6 foot arm on the street side. And the only reason I did it on this particular option is just because I thought, well, we got the 4, you know, the minimum of the 4 on the pedestrian side. You know, I wanted it to be a little bit longer on the street side just for it to look right. But on all the other options, they're a little bit shorter on the street side to take a look at. So, this one here uses a slightly different fixture head, than the other ones. I kinda like this fixture head a little bit better than the first one that I had shown you, so I have a picture right here of what that would look like. And then, the next sheet was just the Chadbourne example, just included for reference, since that was an arm inspiration that, you know, a couple people liked. And then I also included a photo of what it looks like, and I think they were able to get away with the taller, pole along here, because they have a couple buildings that are, you know, 6 and 8 stories, so from a scale standpoint, it looked okay down there. So, I also included, last time I was here, I mentioned our project over in Egg Harbor along Highway 42. Now, this is from the Google Street View photo, and as we know, the Google Street View photos aren't always the most up to date, so this is actually their older fixture with the HID, the metal halide in there, so it's not the new one yet. So the new one is gonna be just a couple feet taller than this, and these are all about 2-story buildings about. So, and then also Egg Harbor, I was looking at, you know, the width of the street, because we use 16-foot high poles, and that the street for Egg Harbor is about the same width, from curb to curb, in the widest part that, Main Street is. So you could go anywhere, you know, right now I have them at 18 feet, you could be as low as that 16, I wouldn't go any lower than that. And then you could go as high as 22 to 24, so it's all about how you want that scale to look and the ease of, maintenance for, the heads and drivers in those fixtures. you have right now.
So it'll be narrower. after the-
Okay,
after the
yeah.
project. Okay.
Yep, because it was including the parking areas, the widest part with those parking areas, on the side. So then I also included here the pole cut sheet, so just showing more information on the base for this. The pole, would be the smooth shaft, not the fluted. But I included the cut sheets in here just to show you all the different options with it and, you know, the parts and pieces and everything, just so you had that information. And then, option 2 here, has a little bit shorter arm on the pedestrian side. And then, I just went with a different pole base here, so this one is about 2 feet high right here, so it's not too much taller. So if you really like this base and you're a little worried that it's a little close between the fixture head and the ground, we could always raise this pole up a little bit. And I went with showing you a 4-foot arm on here, and with just a nice even smooth band across there. And then this is the same type of fixture as the previous one.
What's the
And then
final look at the
just-
sidewalks?
Just including the cut sheet again for
8,
the poles.
10, and that's, came right up
Sorry, a lot of extra stuff on there. And then on the top of the poles, there's different options we can do. Right now, I just did it really simple with just a flat cap on the top, but if you like, say, you know, the look of, you know, this ball center cap or something like a spike or something can change the look of that pole. So, let's see here on,
Do most of the lighting fixtures though come with their own, like their own style of top, right? Or what do you,
the top would be
oh,
the
you're
top
talking the
of,
very top
the
of the pole.
pole.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay,
Yep.
sorry.
and actually each fixture, you're correct on that, each fixture, like the hanger here, we can also put a similar type of topper on there too. But I went with the more plain ones, and then we could kind of pick some of those toppers once we figure out a, you know, a type of, you know, layout that we like. And then I also included a cut sheet of the fixture that I used for options 1 and 2. And these fixtures have a flat lens, so it's full cutoff. And then, let's see here. So on the top of the fixture, right now I'm showing it where it's just flat here, but if you wanted to go with like that same ball looking detail or the spike, you could certainly do that if that's a certain look that you like. And then, let's see here, and then the roadway fixture is just a slightly larger version, so it'll be nice, cause the lower one will be slightly smaller, and then the roadway one will be slightly bigger, so just from a scale standpoint, it'll look right. And then option 3 is, And then I showed you a different, pole base, look over here. This one, is, you know, you can barely get your foot on there, but it's nice and smooth going up to it, which would be pretty difficult to climb. And then I also included the cut sheet for that particular pole, as well as the cut sheet for the fixture. And as you can tell, the one that I'm suggesting we use doesn't have any of these fins or anything. It would just be the solid one, but, it's available, you know, again with, you know, the options where you have, you know, a different little finial on the top. And then, it has some different options, like this is the sloped, edge shade. And then, let's see here. So they have the straight, and then they have a flared one. And then the one I showed in there was the bell edge. And then they also have one where, it's, you know, it has that round rim right here then too. So it's just slightly different, hood styles on there depending on what you may or may not like. And then I also included a cut sheet of all the different arms. So this one is one of the ones that I used. One of the things that was mentioned in the last meeting was not going too ornate on the arms. And then this is one, you know, the one from the Chadbourne project. But they also have some other more simplistic arms over here. One of the items that was mentioned in the last meeting was not going with that shepherd's hook, so I didn't include that in any of the options. So that's pretty much it with the options. We have option 1, which is similar to the Chadbourne project. We have option 2, which has the same type of fixture as option 1, but just a slightly more ornate looking pole base. And all the pole bases that I picked out were the shortest options that Sternberg has. And then option 3 is similar to option 2, where it has that shorter pedestrian arm, but a slightly different, a little bit more, just a different looking fixture head here. Is there, between, I guess a question is, you know, what's your thoughts or gut feeling on the fixture head itself? Do you like the one from option 3, or do you like the one from options 1 and 2? Which one's your favorite?
I like 1 and 2.
You like 1 and 2?
1 and 2.
1 and 2. I mean, I like 1 and 2, but I also like the simplistic nature of number 3, you know?
Yeah,
I think, you know, I think of maintenance or painting or anything like that, or whatever needs to be done with these down the road.
Oh, yeah, so everything's mix and match on here, so if you like the fixture head of 1 and 2, but you're kind of leaning towards the pole style of option 3, I can get an updated drawing showing those all together and get that sent over.
And I really like the simplistic arm. I mean,
Me too.
I do,
like that.
especially because I think of our pedestrian walkway and some of our businesses, I look at with wider sidewalks or maybe more awnings coming.
Mhm.
I would like to stick with a shorter arm.
I really like this arm, this simple little shorter arm. I think it's elegant. so think about, we got a 2-inch conduit going in and a 2-inch conduit going out, so in like a 5-inch pole, it wouldn't fit in the bottom of the base.
Is it really
That's-
just a wrap around the pole versus an actual support? Is it?
No, it's, in this one, it's part of the pole, but I think once we go to the taller poles, it's gonna be just a clamp around it, just to kind of cover,
Aesthetically,
those
yeah, that's what I
conduits going in. But really, the pole base, it's attached to the concrete base that, goes into the ground, and really that's the support right there. So the bottom of it is more of a decorative piece.
So the height really doesn't make a
Nope.
big difference as
Yep.
far as the height of the pole
Exactly.
and corresponding.
Yep, and so I'll show you option one, the base, for, sorry, this one here. This one has the shorter, type of base over here, and let's see here, I believe. So this one, I think this one only goes up to, I think I have to be careful about the heights on some of these. I know I have to look at that piece of it, but I'd have to make sure if we ended up going with a taller pole that, that I'd be able to get a clamp, version of that one, so I can just take a look at that.
Does anyone know the current, height of the poles that we have?
That's a good question. I was meaning to go out and measure that, but ran out of time before this meeting here.
But if we did go higher, we might be able to do less poles, is that what you said earlier?
Yep. So the higher the pole, the more the light spreads out and the fewer poles that you need to use. So, let's see here. So, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different, split bases over here. Let's see here, but they don't have that Milford one, but they have this Gateway one, which is a little bit, shorter too.
Are we essentially just picking these tonight? This is like our last discussion on this, or do we have another discussion?
You
I mean-
can, you can have as many discussions as you want, and I know it's just, it's so many parts and pieces, it's like picking, your favorite car out of a, 100,000 different cars.
So if we're okay with going taller poles, which is less poles,
Mhm.
the engineers need to know this, right? When's our deadline for all of that?
I mean, there's other things that they can be still working on, but, the sooner we get this picked, we can move on to the next thing and start putting that stuff in, so.
Do we have a need to meet with this again, or are we kinda just picking what we want tonight and I guess,
Up to you guys. I mean, I think the sooner we get it done, the better, but you have to be happy with what you choose.
yeah,
How about this? How about, we take away one more time and then I come back with a third iteration and with some taller poles if you want.
Be
If you
careful of the taller poles. Our staff might not be able to reach them
Yeah,
if
it
they're
was-
changing out.
Okay,
thinking about
So,
that, yeah.
so are
I think
you,
most of ours are 14.
here, we'll go to this one here since you seem to like this arm and this fixture here.
I like
That's
option
about
twelve.
16, about 16 and a half feet, so, and then right here, up, above the pedestrian side is, 9'7".
I'm sorry, there was some talking, I didn't
Oh,
catch that
no, it's
entire-
okay, It's okay.
So,
And I could always have them raise this one just a foot, it doesn't have to be at the same
yeah,
height. You know, this piece right here could go up 12 inches and be right here instead. And then that way you'd have a good 10 feet of clearance underneath this fixture on the sidewalk side. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of option 2. I think it might be nice to raise that pedestrian side
Yeah.
up just a little bit,
I agree.
just to maybe up to the 10-foot side,
Yep.
10-foot height.
Yep.
But I like option 2 as a whole.
Do you like the pole base?
I like the pole base.
Yeah.
I like the light shape.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind.
You like the
Adding
short arm?
I don't mind the short arm. I think if you get it up higher, it's less of a thing for someone to jump up and hit and whatever, and it's
Yep.
gonna spread farther on the sidewalk. I wouldn't be opposed to putting something fancy on top of the pole, but that'd be the only thing.
Keep
Oh,
in
that's
mind,
all-
that's all just
Little,
whatever.
Short
a
arm
little
throw
ball
as much
top
light
later.
as
yeah,
the
keep
long
in
arm?
mind, our sidewalks are gonna be significantly bigger.
I realize that, but they're also the light is going to be 10 feet high.
yes,
And-
and a lot of businesses downtown currently don't have awnings, but I see if they have wider sidewalks, there could be that need.
Then it needs to be lower, then it needs to be a
wouldn't be
lower
able
light,
to-
otherwise it won't get through
But
the
I mean,
awnings anyway.
but you've
They
got
can't-
that width.
Most of
and-
them can't add in an awning
No,
because they're right at the property line, so unless we're allowing them to go over the property line with their awning.
years ago, most of the businesses downtown did have awnings,
So even if they
on the
put-
south side especially,
so
or
even-
north side, I'm sorry.
Even if they put in like, say, a 3-foot awning, which would be, fairly standard, you're coming out. I mean, I just asked Nathan and he said we're looking at like 12-foot sidewalks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's still 9 feet from the awning to the pole. So even if you did the 4-foot arm, you're still in the middle between there. I mean, without an awning, if there's no awnings involved, then the longer
You could
arm
always
seems
see
like it makes more
And
sense.
have her
Yeah.
do 2 little diagrams of what it'll look like on the new, streetscape and what it would look like over the sidewalks and
I mean, maybe
Street.
I'm old, but most of those businesses on the north side, because of the southern exposure, that window on the south, they had awnings. So,
And these poles are gonna be right by the curb, right? They're not gonna be in the
Now,
living side, so.
now
That's
that,
what I'm trying
we've
to get.
selected a fixture itself, fixture head and everything, I can start laying things out in the calculations and kind of play around with that, and that can be part of the next one, so I can play around and give you an option, this is an 18-foot pole, this is a 20-foot pole, and give you, and show you kind of what that would do. Maybe it's a big difference, maybe it's nothing. But I'm going to bring up that pedestrian side, so the bottom of that fixture is at least 10 feet above the sidewalk. I think that's important. And then in the options, I'm gonna do just a small tweak. I'll do the flat on them like this, but then I'm also gonna do the ball finial on there. I think that would look really nice with this particular fixture. Does anyone wanna see the spike finial on any of them? Okay.
well, that and I think of Walmart big stuff to it. Blown Walmart bigs, like the top of a chain link fence,
That's fair.
So, Public Works, Aaron, do you have a preference on bases at all? Like, your guys are out there doing snow removal or doing other things, do you have a preference in types of bases?
No, I think these smaller ones would all work. With the one in option 2, there's a little bit more room for snow to kind of get packed in there a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. They're also black, so radiant heat will melt it off.
That'll help. I just wanted to make sure you had a preference.
And then just so you see the bases again, you got a little sleeker pole base here, and then the much shorter one over here. I agree, I really like this particular pole base, that's why I put it on here, because I personally thought it was kind of neat looking, especially with the shape of this fixture.
For that lower arm, what are because I think the concern is that it's too short. Is that what you're getting at, Jim?
Oh,
It's
I
too
was just
small.
gonna raise this up here.
But I mean, can you, is that arm, that's the lower arm, the pedestrian side arm, Is there longer versions, not 4 foot? Like that one's tiny, but
Yep, this one is a little bit shorter. Let me go to the different arms here. So,
I'm just thinking, you got a 12-foot sidewalk, and then you pop out, you know, say the post is centered about a foot away from the edge. So you still got 11 feet between the post and the buildings, and if you went out 4 feet to the light fixture, then you're still 7 feet from the building, right? So, but if you only go out 2 feet, now your
what
light
I'm
fixture
asking,
is
is there
9
a,
feet
is there
from
a
the
3
buildings.
foot and a
That's covering the
5
entire
foot,
sidewalk.
2
So-
feet, you know, 5
So
foot.
as you're
and
looking
one-
down the street, then you see, you know, the sidewalk is this big and the light's here. instead
No,
of the
I
light-
agree, so
yeah.
that's why I'm asking, can that
Yeah.
one be a little longer? Maybe we need to extend the one on the street a little bit too, so it doesn't look awkward.
Option one has a longer,
yep, option one has the 4 foot here, which is the shortest. These, longer arms go, and then a 6 foot here. And then, let's see
I
here.
really like the simplicity, the simplicity of it. As much as I like the filigree, I think I like the simplistic piece of it for,
Yeah, let me
Even think
look
of
and
maintenance.
see what they have for something in between. But most of the pedestrian side ones, that I was seeing on the website use that particular shorter arm on that side.
what is downtown Appleton?
But, what do you think of this one here, this ADWB? Yeah. Let's take a look at that one. I'm just seeing what I'll take a look and see what that one looks like. And see if I can find something that's just slightly longer, but still has that simplistic look to it. On, over here, and see what that is. But anyway, what I can do now that I at least have the fixtures picked is, I could play around and show you, hey, this is what it would look like, lighting wise.
I looked on Google Maps for like downtown Appleton. That's pretty wide sidewalks, right? And it's just a big like shepherd hook sort of thing, and I don't know how many, it doesn't look that far away from that pole.
Yeah.
But that's downtown Appleton. I know that that's a lot of lighting at night.
The nice thing about LED lighting is the optics. It's how you specify the optics, so like, a type 3 optic, for example, kind of pushes light out and kind of forward, which would work well. So I would pick the optic that would make the most sense with the shape of the sidewalk along there too. So I don't get too worried about things like that, like how long the arm is, because the optics and the LED fixtures are so well designed and so precise that I can play around with that. And if I don't have a longer arm, I can make up for it with the optics on the fixture. So that's never really an issue on my part with getting that light out. So we're not talking about like a little fixture that like you might have on your garage. It's just a little 60-watt bulb or something in there that just kind of spills light out. These are engineered to precisely bring the light exactly where it's supposed to be.
And I have one final question.
Yeah.
These are sealed, correct?
Yes.
So this is not our public works staff opening these up to clean bugs out, right?
Correct, correct. They're ingress protection rated, so let me go to the cut sheet on this one here. So these are, so it's IP65 rated, and just an explanation on what IP65 means. There's ingress protection ratings, and so the 6 is for water, and then once you go up the next number, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then so 6 is like dust and like little particles, like nothing's going to go in, so it's designed to do that. So like anytime I specify outdoor light fixtures, I always go with IP65 or above, because there's nothing more than I hate when I go out to these sites that I spend my time designing, and and my clients spend their money paying for when you see bugs in those fixtures. Nothing
water.
yeah, or especially water, but, and that's why, like, I like to go with the IP65 or more, so this, you won't be seeing bugs in there, it's a completely sealed unit.
Really high. Come on.
Any other questions? Then we're all in agreement, we want her to bring something back.
So I'll do a fine-tuned version of option 2, with and without the ball type finial. I'll do a version, I'll look and see what I can find for maybe a slightly longer arm, but what I'm going to do as part of this next iteration is I'm going to start some preliminary lighting calculations, and then we can start reviewing some of that too. That sound good?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, we will move to B, discussion on SRO police vehicle and potential sale.
Brian's here tonight kind of to help discuss this, whether or not, so our other vehicle came in that we purchased, part of the CIP this year, and in years past, we'd sell the vehicle with the oldest vehicle, which is the SRO vehicle, and I guess, Brian came and talked to me and, thought that it would be a good idea to try to keep it. I don't know if you wanna kind of explain.
Yeah,
how
I mean,
it's
it's our oldest vehicle in the rotation. I know we were quoted like $7,500 on trade-in. We just went to All World and get a quote. The issue is that it's got 40,000 miles on it. It has less miles on it than our two newer vehicles, and I think we'd really have to look at the costs or the financial aspect of $7,500, knowing that it's a squad-ready vehicle. It's got 40,000 miles on it, so it's usable yet, and most of that equipment, when we would sell a vehicle, is gonna get pulled out of that vehicle and it's not usable again, just because that's the way it works in our world. Every so many years they change the vehicle, so you need all new types of equipment. So I just approached Nathan because, I mean, it's $7,500 for a fully equipped vehicle with only 40,000 miles on it it seems like kind of a loss on our part. Now, we would still have, in the event that we had maintenance issues or we had events, we would have an additional vehicle to work with. I just don't know. I mean, when I look at where our vehicles are at with mileage, again, then looking at that cost that we got, or that price that we got to trade in, I guess it raises some flags for me as far as what we wanted to do with that.
What vehicles do we have? Help me out with.
Yeah, so how our rotation currently works, we have 4 vehicles. The oldest car before being traded in always goes to the SRO, just because it's, obviously it's more susceptible to mechanical issues, and obviously the SROs aren't out there using, it's kind of point A to point B stuff. So that vehicle that I'm driving is a 2017. It has 40,000 miles on it. We have a 2021 and a 2022 that are our primary patrol vehicles. Those vehicles have 50,000 and 44,000 miles currently, but those will need to get a couple more years out of yet. And then we have that pickup that has 8,700 miles on it, which is a 2020. So, and now we just purchased a new vehicle. So,
Is that a 23 or a 24? The new one?
the new one I think is a 25.
Oh, it's 25?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And so the 2 patrol vehicles we use, that's a constant rotation of patrol.
Correct.
So that SRO, so when you're saying, so like I think of like Brian Hauser, the SRO kind of on that Greenville side, what vehicle does he use?
So he uses one of the primary patrol vehicles typically because a lot of his days are split where he's working in the school and then coming back and filling his shift out on the road.
Okay.
So he usually is assigned one of those primary patrol vehicles. So I drive that oldest squad, the 2017, that black squad with the 40,000, and then the other two SUVs that we have are used by our patrol.
So then you would be taking the 2021?
If we traded that one in now, you know, the black one that I use, the oldest one, the 2017, I'd move to that 2021 vehicle, yeah.
And if we didn't, then what?
So if we didn't, I would stay in that vehicle that we're looking to trade in. We would have the new vehicle and we'd be able to split our patrol usage between 3 vehicles and hopefully keep the miles down on those. Because like you said, we've got vehicles with 50,000 miles that need to get us more years yet.
And the pickup is you said just under 9,000 miles, so 8,700.
Yes,
And
or
that's
the
a twen-
pickup goes into rotation.
But the pickup never goes into rotation,
No.
and that's just parked, unless Chief is using it.
Yeah, so that's a 2020 and it's got 8,700 miles on it.
And then Chief's not here, but have we ever looked at putting that pickup into rotation to increase the mileage and to utilize that vehicle? I mean, I know when it was purchased, there was an intent with it, but that administrator's no longer here, there's a different, I guess I'm just curious. We have a vehicle sitting with 8,700 miles.
When we purchased that, we said then it would get passed down to probably the Public Works Department. That's what
So
we
that's,
said.
okay, but is that
So-
still the intent?
No.
No?
But back then it was, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where you don't put so many miles on, why wouldn't you take that truck and leave those other vehicles? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
Because you would put less mileage on that truck then.
yeah, I think if we, you know, look at the miles here, we just need to figure out a way to spread
Maximize
that
the
out
miles, yeah.
more evenly, right? I mean, we have, you know, a 2021 with 50,000 miles on it and a 2020 with 8,700 miles on it, right? So I think we have to figure out a way to make that make sense. Whether that's maintaining that vehicle we currently have but I guess it would be up to what you wish to do with that truck. If that truck, and again, I agree, I believe that the initial intent was that would be passed down to Public Works at some point. But if that's not a thing, then I think we need to figure out what we want to do with that, right? Like to make that, again, make sense.
And all these vehicles are kitted out with the equipment that fits in that specific vehicle.
Yeah, which is really the tough thing in our world, like I said, because every time it seems we buy a new vehicle, those vehicles aren't compatible with the things that we have in our current vehicles, right? It's sort of how they do business. So some things, you know, light bars typically are interchangeable, radios, you know, there's some things that we can get away with the instrument clusters, like the center console stuff, barricades, some of the stuff in the back of the car as far as storage. A lot of times it ends up, and we've done this before, we've tried to put those things on surplus, and everybody's trying to put them on surplus because they're all in the same boat, so you're getting nothing for them. So, I mean, that was a challenge and why I kind of came to Nathan, right? Because if you're going to get $7,500 for a vehicle, it's not as though you're going to get a bunch of money for that equipment that's in there. So I'm just trying to figure out what's makes most.
Have you looked at any of these numbers, Nathan, like what makes sense with these different vehicles and like values of each of them, or?
It's hard with the sales because it's auctions. So like, I don't know. The other thing is the radios are the only thing that usually gets transferred. We only have enough for our current squad, so either the SRO vehicle wouldn't have a radio in it, or you'd have to buy one. All of our radios are supposedly about 12 years old, in the vehicles.
But during the day, when you're in school, what radio are you using?
Just my portable that I
Your
carry
portable,
with me,
and
yeah.
when you get into the vehicle on a call, what do you use? Do you use the radio?
I use the squad radio. I mean, if there was a situation, I mean, you could get by using a portable radio, but then we'd have to realize, like, if you're going to do that and have to go through purchasing another squad radio, then I wouldn't really call that vehicle squad ready, right? Like, cause then it's not something that somebody else is just gonna hop in and use for patrol. And I think the cost that we got on those radios is depending $400 to $7,500 if we had to buy another radio, which is like almost the value of what they're gonna give us for the car, which is crazy, but yeah.
And by what Jeannie is saying is maybe like doing the truck for the SRO isn't putting any miles on it. That's the problem. You don't put that many miles on it.
No, I put no miles on. I mean, you guys see what I do, right? Like it's,
We do.
and that's why I think 2017 probably when that guy cycled in, like I couldn't tell you what it was when I first got it, but I would venture to guess that I'm putting less than 5,000 miles on a year.
A year.
You know, like when we're submitting, we keep track of mileage and you see it, it's like 10 to 20 miles a pay period, right? Because going across the street.
Yeah.
You know, so Hauser, now we did, like when we do the SRO contract, we factor in more miles for him because his travels typically are to Greenville and back, right? So there's some more mileage on that car. But yeah, I think the one that's kind of glaringly obvious is a 2020 with 9,000 or 8,700 miles on it. How do we make that?
Because putting 1,700 miles on a year, to me, is that even, are we getting that return on that investment on that vehicle? I'm the one sitting in the driveway full of vehicles with all my teen drivers and everything too, and I mean, I just look at that mileage, either we need to start using that vehicle more and putting it in rotation, or I think we need to look at what to do with that. But I don't know what is available for us to do.
Which vehicle?
With the truck, I mean, what are our options? I mean,
you could gut it, sell it, cut your losses, then you would have 4 vehicles all the same.
and there was no intent, I know initially it was Department of Public Works, but that's not even something,
I don't know, I mean, typically, like, police
it's really
cars
kitted
are
out.
usually a lot cheaper for a reason. They're used very differently than
Yeah.
the public uses them for. And same with public works vehicles. I don't know, I mean, at this point, since it's barely been used, maybe, but
I don't
I
know.
would have to see what's actually in it and what they could do to put new stuff in.
And I didn't mean to
but-
interrupt you, but you were going through the options, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, I typically, like, what we're looking at next for public works, from my understanding, is a water truck, which is gonna have a different back end anyway. Yeah.
I think what would make the most sense is to have the SRR using that 2020 truck. If you had to have the other SRO drive that 2017 to Greenville and back, then park it when he needs to go on patrol, because you're still gonna have 3 other cars for him to patrol. He just switches out.
But if Brian takes the truck, it's gonna put no miles on it.
So,
What, isn't that the goal?
No,
I think the goal
No.
is to spread the miles out.
spread the miles out.
Start
yeah,
using
so
some miles
Use
on
the
it.
truck.
all the vehicles we have are patrol ready right now, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I think, somewhere at the
Is that correct?
police,
Because
at the
we're on shorter
administrative
radio,
level,
right?
you need to look at rotating those vehicles around to evenly distribute the miles instead of you just hanging on to, just because it's the oldest, and then not putting any miles on it, so we get stuck in a situation where, I agree with you, $7,500 is a ridiculous amount of money to get for that vehicle. I would
For
be
the
shocked.
SUV, yeah.
I mean, I would be shocked if you couldn't just put it out for a bid and get more than that.
So we have a brand new vehicle that just came in, that does not have a radio.
Right, so they're not all patrol ready.
Yeah.
5 vehicles,
Yeah.
4 of them are patrol
Until we
ready,
get-
because
yeah.
we're missing a radio.
Because we would take the radio out of
Right,
that
so we're
27.
one of them is going to be missing a radio. So I think, if it was my opinion, I would not get rid of, I think $7,500 is also ridiculous. I would keep it, but I think we need to figure out what we're gonna do with the truck, because we need to have more miles spread across all the vehicles. So I think, honestly, the SRO should be taking the 2021 with the highest mileage, since there's the least amount of
Mhm.
travel, and we need to start using the truck as a patrol vehicle more than what it is.
Or getting a cost.
Or see what we can get for the truck
Correct.
and look at what our options then are for that. I mean, I think that's one of the 2 things, go back to 4 vehicles and get rid of the truck, see what we get for it, or we need to rotate how these vehicles are used, no matter what.
But there'll always be a vehicle in the garage available for chief to go on patrol and also like backup.
More or less. I mean, like, there's obviously times where the one vehicle's in and we have the 2 SROs at the school, and so there will be those times where there isn't necessarily a leftover. Like, currently, there's times where if there is one in the shop, there
If
might-
there's one in the shop, but
Right.
if there's not one in the shop,
for the
there
most
was-
part, yes.
so we're still getting that patrol, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I think what we did, and Jeannie, you were on the board, I think what we did is we purchased a vehicle and we were specific to the person and the position that would use it in reservation of what we would do with the truck, but that's changed now. And I think we need to start using that truck more, or like Shauna said too, look at selling it. Like, what's the value of that? But it's all kitted out.
It
you know?
might retain more of its value because there's been less use of it. It's not been used as a patrol vehicle yet. I mean,
Well, and the thing with the 2017, that oldest one, the F-150, that's very much in our favor is they don't have light bars, so they didn't get the hole in the roof, which is huge on cost, or trade-in, I should say. So yeah, that pickup might pull more money than, you know.
Yeah, I
We
think
would
we need to
think
look at
too,
the
I don't
options
know.
of either, how much could we get for the truck if we decide to sell it, and if not, then we need to figure out a better rotation for vehicles and reassigning which one goes to the SRO and which one, I mean, we need to be able to spread the wealth of the mileage a little bit better.
Or not even call a vehicle the SRO vehicle, just these are the vehicles, and just to have a rotation of utilizing the mileage base, like this one
doesn't have very much,
this is simple, so this one only had this many miles this month, so then this person, you know, we need to put this vehicle into rotation a little more, the SRO, this one had more miles, then the SRO takes that one. Is that doable?
Yeah, it is. The only issue that comes up for the SRO car is we usually yank the computer out of there to put in the SRO office.
Okay.
But that's a fairly minor cost. Like, we could probably utilize a laptop in my office and leave that.
but I think if you had 3 in a
We would-
rotation and the SRO always takes the lowest or the
Yeah.
highest one,
Yeah.
I think you could yearly switch them out.
For
But
sure.
if you
Yeah,
have
make
a
it-
patrol, if you have another patrol, so if you take the radio out of the truck, put it in the new cruiser, now you have 4 patrol-ready vehicles.
Yep.
Correct.
Right? So the 2 SROs can take, and you could rotate them, and you're concerned, the reason that the SRO has the oldest one is because of potential maintenance issues. But if you have 4 patrol-ready, now you have an extra one that's a floater, that even if you have a potential breakdown, you have an option to go and change that rotation. I think
But I
that's
wouldn't
probably
take the
your-
radio out of the truck though, because don't we want to put the truck in rotation? Or you're saying?
No,
if
you
we
get rid of
sold
the
it?
truck.
If
Take
we
the
got rid of
radio
If you
out
get
of
rid
the
of the
truck,
truck, yeah, then
put
you
it
get
in the
rid of
new
it, yeah.
vehicle,
For
and
sure.
then
I hear you now.
look at getting rid of the
Okay.
truck.
I just remember the intention of that truck, and it was also it meant to be used by a position, but
Yeah.
looking at this, I mean, hindsight is 20/20. Here we are, 4 3/4 years later, it's different now.
So our consensus is, we keep the vehicle for sure, the 2017.
Yes.
And then check into the value of the truck.
You need a radio for the
Yeah, we don't have any action on this agenda item, so I
Right.
think this is just more of a
Just
direct.
to,
Okay.
yeah.
I just need to know that we're not, because otherwise it was about to be stripped, so that was
Yeah,
why,
No,
so,
I
and
wouldn't do
that's internal convenience, so.
So we're gonna take time to see what the the pickup is worth and make a decision based on,
Then bring it back.
We'll bring it back.
okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks,
Yeah, thank
Brian.
you.
Okay, we'll go to C. Discussion and possible action on camera and mic for recording village board meetings.
So, after looking at the microphone and trying to figure out if it's the microphone or the camera which is causing the glitches, or the system that's the cords, I don't have the technical expertise to find out the issue with the current setup. So, I went back and asked, one of the lowest vendor, what it would cost for just a camera and microphone like we have, but obviously it's a higher end camera and microphone than what we have, because what we have is basically security camera footage.
But we don't know for sure if that's the problem of it glitching out, right? Is it?
Well, this would fix it, because the whole system would be gone, it'd be this new system. But it's stripped down, it doesn't have anything for like personal microphones, it
Yeah.
doesn't have anything for amplification, so.
So it just uses kind of like what we have now, this little needle mic that,
No, it's
No?
got its own mic, its
Okay.
its own camera, with installation, and it records into a separate, computer, basically, so that's a new thing, where right now, basically, it's going into, some type of device, and then it goes all the way back to our server room through the ceiling, is currently how it gets there. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's still expensive, I get it,
and that cutting out issue is still happening. It's just,
Yeah.
and it happens and then you have to skip the video like 10 seconds ahead. And then all of a sudden it seems like it unfreezes and then it might go for a little longer and then it freezes up again. You know, and that's how we're recording meetings for, you know, unless we do get back to the little audio dealy, you know.
I mean, I get it, I get the reasoning, I get that. It's just hard to swallow that it's 10 grand to put in one camera and one microphone. I mean, if you look at this, I mean, this is, what's the labor charge on this, like $3,000?
$3,000.
$3,000 to install one wire, one camera and one microphone. That's freaking ridiculous.
Have we talked to the
I
company?
wish I could pay that.
Yeah, the company that did the.
It's a little more, because they got it connected into the automatic turn-off switch, which, I'm granted, it's
If the
not a lot.
wires exist.
It's still,
Yeah.
yeah,
Still.
yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of exclusions here that this could cost a lot more. And
I think it's enough cost as it is. I don't think it's gonna cost much more, but like I said, it's up to you
What's
guys.
what's the warranty on this? I didn't see anything.
I don't know.
Looks like nothing.
It's probably whatever the manufacturer warranty is.
This just stinks to me, like, an overcharge. I mean, $3,000 to install one camera, that's just.
They're the cheapest in the state. They won the state contract.
You're
That's-
close to this, Jim. You know, you are so close.
Like,
to
I am,
this.
because I installed
Yeah,
cameras,
I know.
I installed 10 cameras at Hardtails. And, I mean, I installed 16 cameras at Otter Creek. You wanna know what the bill was to install those cameras? It was like $1,200 in labor for 16 cameras. And it took me like 4 days to do it, because they had ungodly amounts of wire up above there. I mean, you know, I could only go 2 tiles at a time. So, I mean, this just stinks to me as a
I have a
complete
system
overcharge.
at home that I spent $1,100 for,
Yeah.
we installed it ourselves, and it's better than what we have.
Yeah,
If we're not gonna
I think
do
this
this-
is out of control.
I think we need to have an alternate recording of these meetings, because,
I don't know how staff can do that. I just don't, because as of right now, I don't have, if you want me to take time to do it myself, it's gonna take a lot of my time to try to figure out what I can do to make it work. And I don't think that's my best use of my time. When there's budget and there's grants and there's other things that are more important, I think, in the grand scheme of things
I hear
going
you.
on.
We used to do that little thing. And then Lynn, wouldn't she just hook that up with a USB and just drag the file over and it was just stored, so
Are
that,
you just talking about audio?
yeah.
Yeah, we could,
something as a backup, because there's
we
been
could just
pertinent
do, we
information.
can go back to just audio.
Well, no, I mean, we keep the video, but as a backup. I don't know what to say.
Okay.
The hard part is it's always been during something very important that it always cuts out. And I think that's the most frustrating piece of this. It's not when we're doing consent agenda and that, it's usually during a pretty thorough discussion.
So then if the video is still skipping and you have those that audio, it's not like our staff is gonna sit there and try to match it up.
No, they wouldn't
No,
have to,
Right.
they just
Shouldn't
throw
have
it in
to.
the folder.
Just add,
Yeah.
I think the goal is just to add the audio file in addition and say, that's a backup to,
So 2 files, one video.
yeah, one with the video with the audio that may or may not glitch out, and then you have the additional, here's the full audio. You can just listen to it and,
It
The
could-
video, the majority of it
But it-
isn't glitching.
Okay, so it's only in small spots. I haven't watched that.
It isn't bad at all. I watched that P and Z, it glitched a few times, but it wasn't like it was major.
Okay,
Well-
so it's not like it's gonna
So-
eventually catch up where, Jim's talking, but it's actually, Shauna talking.
Yeah,
That's
I
what,
mean,
that would be my.
it'd be fun to see.
I mean, it'd be my.
My voice coming out and Jim
But
going,
here's the odd thing, and not to pick on Jim here, but it's usually when Jim's talking that it glitches out.
It's a conspiracy.
And I don't know if it's where he's sitting or if it's something, but maybe I have a little audio thing too. I could bring it and I'll just save the audio files and
We still have the audio thing, we've always kept it.
I don't wanna make any extra work for anybody.
That's
but-
not extra work.
It's
The extra
not.
work, I think, is if
trying to
we
match
wanted-
it up.
No, I would never expect anybody to do
Or
that.
trying to have staff try to figure out how, the best way to do this.
No.
The only other option that we could reach out to is the person who installed the security cameras for us over
Mhm.
here to see if they would be able to do something with it.
That was one, yeah, I think we could ask.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
That
I
would be
think you
local.
just tape it and we're all good.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to listen
Yeah.
that closely, they can get the tape, a copy of the tape.
I mean, is that a big deal?
There's an app where you can just record a meeting. I've done that with other meetings and then I delete it after I do the minutes. You can just sit here and record it.
Yeah, and then you
And
just
then I
slide
can
it,
just save
just
it.
keep it into a folder. I mean,
Yeah.
it's that simple. So if somebody does wanna, so let's say some of these meetings that if I've missed something and I go back to watch it and then it glitches out and then I miss a good part of that conversation, I could say, hey Jane, I need this meeting. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just an app that you do and you
Yeah, it's
just do
just
it
a
on your.
recording app.
Could you have the audio posted on the
Yeah.
website, like?
Yeah. I don't know how you'd match up.
No, I
You
would
don't
never.
have to match it, I would just have the
No, that
video
would be-
and the video as it is, and then another file that's the audio, pure audio,
Oh, we can
and-
still combine them.
but whatever,
It
it doesn't, you
doesn't
wouldn't even
matter.
have, you wouldn't even have to. Just have them both on there and color good.
Right.
If it's
Why
literally
do all the
just an
extra
app
work?
on your
Right.
computer,
Yeah.
that's simple.
99% of the time, you don't want that tape anyway.
I mean, half
Save
the people are,
10,000.
half the people are just gonna listen to the audio anyway,
It's
cause
just
that's what they,
dumb.
that's what
It's
they
just
care
been
about, they don't care what
frustrating.
people look
No,
like.
I'm good.
It's just been frustrating, and you, I'm
We
trying to
asked,
catch up.
we asked you to look into this, which you spent a lot
You
of
did.
time in.
You did, Nathan.
But we've gone from $9,000 initially that I thought, all the way up to 35, I think, at one point. we had
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
estimate. And now we're back down to,
Yeah,
and is this gonna fix?
we don't know.
We were initially, yeah, see, that's just it. huh?
It won't help the audience.
No.
I mean,
I agree, I think we need to
yeah.
do it a better way, some way, upgrade it, because this is old technology, it just is.
If we can do the audio for now, that would help, at least give us some time so it's not like right this minute.
No.
And maybe in a few years,
Mhm.
do kind of a bigger upgrade, not like bigger upgrade, but
I
just.
mean, and I think for the most part, people do go out and watch the videos, and then they just, they push past the glitchy parts, but the videos are helpful. Me, who's missed meetings, or people in the community who can't come to a meeting because of schedules, do watch them.
I've been watching them too, and I've experienced a lot of glitches, and it seems like it's been more than what it used to be.
But I think that the audio is what's most important in the whole thing, right? More
And if
than
you
the
wanna go
video
back to it, then you
itself.
ask Jane for the audio file, and it's just, probably something you can email. Easy.
So we're good with that?
There's one more point to make about the audio is if you like, if the video went out, I mean, I know there was a concern about people having like if we can have more of the meetings recorded at request.
You mean like committee meetings and things?
Yeah. If they didn't wanna be video recorded, but it's a nice record of discussion is right to make decisions.
I think whatever you do, you just have to be consistent.
Mhm. I mean, I'll be honest,
And
there's,
we have to be careful about where we're saving these things too, in case you get an open records request. We have to be able to explain why a committee meeting is there and then maybe another one is not.
correct. You know, and as our committees literally contain 5 board members out of 7. So if 2 aren't there, sometimes the 2 that aren't there may want to look at that information, but if it's a committee meeting where no one recorded, then, you know, some committee meetings are recorded, some committees aren't, whatever, I agree. Whatever we do needs to be just consistent, and we're just gonna record or we're not going to, but. I used to literally bring in a video camera with a microphone and record all the, if you look at the older YouTube videos, those are all from me. And then I turned that YouTube account over to the village when they did the camera. I was going to committee meetings and doing all that, just to get that consistency and that transparency. And I don't have the time to do it right now. Again, maybe someday.
Okay, then we will move on to 10, reports of village officials. A, clerk treasurer.
My report was in the packet.
Any questions for Jane?
So the drone information request, is that related to the FAA
Yes,
request?
it was.
Or is it
A
private?
little bit of everything, like the cost of the drone.
So is that from private, or is that to have something to do with the request to the FAA, for the permit for the police department?
It was me.
Oh, it was you. Okay, so that
Yeah.
doesn't, okay.
Consider it
All
private.
right, then it doesn't have.
I just needed
I got
to
it.
understand, and I wanted to see some of the, because I couldn't find some of the older information from when we approved the drone, and I wanted to see some of that FAA documentation, so it's me.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's in the works, yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to tie that into the request for the permit.
It's
It's the
me,
call
and
video.
that was another discussion where you glitched out the video, so I couldn't catch it all too,
Okay.
so, yeah, it was me. Sorry, didn't mean to.
That's fine.
Any other questions for Jane? Okay, we'll move to B, director of public works.
My
Aaron?
report was in the packet.
Any questions for Aaron?
Any, you wanna maybe give us an update on how the park is going?
Mill Street and Splash Pad Alonso Park are both going really well. We have a construction progress meeting tomorrow with the designer and the contractor at Alonso. But everything's on schedule right now.
There was something about you can't resurface a street or something like that, was in the report. You have to redo it. I thought, I read. I don't know which street it was. Okay, I'll talk to you about that later, so I'll find out later. That's one of the,
Any other
maybe it's in
questions?
Nathan's report.
Okay, we'll move to C, police chief. Chris's report is in the packet. Do you have anything to add, Brian?
I do not.
Okay. D, library director, her report is in the packet. E, attorney, Ashley.
Well, actually, we have a new attorney who started 2 months ago, Tyler Pluff. He has a significant amount of municipal experience, and my life is feeling a lot better right now. I'm hoping to have him come out for a meeting in the near future, so you might see him soon. Hopefully, we'll meet him soon.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for Ashley? Okay, we'll move to F, administrator, Nathan.
Not much other than what's in the packet. There's Hortonville homecoming this Friday. We will have a decent amount of staff working to try to block off the roads and it's going down Main Street, so.
Hopefully you don't get yelled at like last year
We
over
will.
by Horton, well, it's now.
It'll
Okay.
happen, but, yeah, so.
Hopefully the kids won't be throwing and chucking candy and jumping off vehicles this year. That was bad last year. Remember that? It was not good.
Throwing candy.
No.
They were chucking candy at
Yeah.
each other and at vehicles. It was bad.
Any questions for Nathan? Okay, we'll move to G, building permit report. It is in the packet. H, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? Okay, 11, communications and miscellaneous business. A, Black Otter Lake District News. Bob?
Nothing new.
Okay. B, Hortonville Hortonian Fire District News. Jim?
There was a fire last night, or Tuesday night, other than that, nothing new.
C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run reports and news. There's none. D, Hortonville Civic Association. Jane? Nothing new. 12, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Yes.
Just like to introduce myself. My name is Sydney Faistel. I work for Senator Rachel Cabral Guevara. And since the maps have changed, this is now her district. And about 90% of our district is all new. So we're just trying to make our rounds to each board meeting and reach out and let you know if there's anything we can do for you or anything in the future.
Thank you. 13, I would need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned at 7:13.
Did anything?